Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays, and today the data is finally out. She's finally here. It's time for Aurora Fryevia to enter the game for people going to FanFesta. Yeah, that's definitely going to be something that I think a lot of people are going to be a little bit impatient about because let's face it, I think a lot of people are going to be super interested in Aurora Fryevia. And to be honest, me too. I think that Fryevia has always been one of the global units that I think is the most interesting to me. So mainly because I'm just a big fan of hybrid units. I'm just always a big fan of cool hybrid units. So yeah, this is a really neat thing. And so while we're looking at regular Fryevia here, I am wanting to do just a little bit of a talk about Aurora Fryevia's kit. Now, there have already been some people out there who have taken a look at it. If you are really interested in knowing about, how much damage she can output, how powerful she's going to be, I would take a look on the Reddit thread made by, I believe it is Meme Lord, who is an absolutely outstanding reviewer, and you should definitely check him out. But he did a lot of work basically on the rotation, as well as stats and buffs. You can kind of see generally what a build would look like for this unit. So pretty interesting, and I haven't personally, I'm going to wait and see what some people's builds on my friend list look like, and I'll definitely do another viewing of this, basically of this unit. But for now, I'm just going to give my general thoughts about what I think of her kit and whether or not I think she's, worthy of being a UOC, something that people should UOC for. Obviously, if you're a fan, doesn't really matter, so just ignore this and let's talk about it. So looking at Aurora Fryevia's kit, almost perfectly balanced in terms of attack and magic. 50 extra points can be put into both. Pretty generally good, I would say. Stat-wise, like 195 for attack and a 7-star as a base, and 199 in magic is, pretty damn solid. Looking at the TMR, Fryevia's suit, this thing, 30 attack, 30 magic, 1 defense, 1 spirit, some light resistance, as well as 10% for both attack and magic. It's a perfectly fine TMR, especially, as a robe. I think it's fine. It's a little low on the defense, which kind of makes me wonder just how defensively strong she will be. But if you have her protected, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Now, super TMR-wise, it's pretty damn beautiful. A true dual-hand hybrid weapon, 160 attack, 120 magic, 20% MP, and a damage range from 105 to 155% with 55 accuracy. So yeah, I've always been a fan of hybrid damage for a lot of reasons. I think it's more interesting, more fun to build, to try and see how the different ways you can do it, and damage formula wise, one ends up being better. Of course, hybrids sometimes get a little bit of the short end of the stick depending on what the trial or the fight is, but I really like this weapon. Daybreak seems, pretty good. I think it's a little too unbalanced in terms of being towards attack as opposed to magic. It makes me think that you're going to want to try and push attack higher, which kind of goes against hybrids in general that are attack and magic based. And this is dependent on what trial you're doing, so please bear with me. Normally, most bosses have a lower spirit stat than they do a defense stat. So if you can build attack and magic hybrids a certain way, you normally want to build them for magic because the spirit stat on a lot of enemies is lower. Daybreak here, it is focused more on attack and less on magic, which is kind of disappointing. On the other hand, currently on Global, to my knowledge, there aren't as many sources of true dual hand other than a couple of TMRs, and I may even be, missing some, forgetting some. Please excuse me for that, but it's more beneficial now to build towards attack, but Super TMR wise, this is less exciting than I kind of thought it would be. With regular Fryevia's Super TMR, you should be able to build a really nice Aurora Fryevia. And now let's just talk about Aurora Fryevia's kit, because Aurora Fryevia doesn't have really good weapon selection at all. Taking a look at regular Fryevia, kind of the same thing. It's basically the exact same equipment, or it is the exact same equipment selection. Sorry, getting there eventually. Swords and a lot of armor stuff, but only swords kind of is very limiting. Into the future, at least on the JP side, there isn't really a great thing other than Kurosame's Super TMR. And even then, that's putting the ice element on her weapon, which is not the specialty of Aurora Fryevia's kit. So equipment-wise, she's pretty damn limited, just like regular Fryevia. And that's a little disappointing. It would have been nice to see maybe a different, maybe she's evolved a little bit, but I guess not. Passives in her kit, lots of stuff for attack and magic, MP resistance, pretty nice range of immunities to status effects, blind, sleep, paralyze, confuse, and petrify. She has some true dual hand in her kit for both attack and magic, evasion for physical and magic, which is kind of interesting. Increased physical and magical damage against demons or undead, not the worst category to get, to be totally honest, in terms of killers. Physical counters and magic counters with Wrath of Light. TMR equipping gets her just some extra true dual hand for attack and magic, which is really great. Gives her triple cast at the start of fight. Limit burst increase. Her limit burst is the main source of her getting triple cast for her abilities, so that is rather important. Auto class Blade of the Past every turn if Fryevia's alive, which is an interesting little side note there. She actually has a lot of accuracy in her kit as well as just true dual hand. I'm kind of impressed that they put that much in there. Now, her stats being not exactly the super highest is maybe a little disappointing, but it's fine. And she does have something that is in her kit that unlocks Aurora Storm, which is a chaining with disorder chain family. Ice and light hybrid damage 15 times to all enemies. I'm not quite sure how I feel about Aurora Storm. Aurora Storm, I mean, it's a 15 times modifier on it. It's a chaining ability. The disorder chaining family, I'm not super familiar with. It's not something on the JP side that comes out. Basically, Kurosame, Fryevia, Prompto, Amelia. It's 10 hits. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know. The dual element can be potentially a problem depending on what fight you're doing. So long as the elements are okay, I don't think there's anything really to worry about here. The rest of her kit, in terms of attack, she has some pretty nice stuff. Her cooldown abilities kind of stand out to me. One that gives her triple cast of her abilities for 4 turns. Another one, that ability that gives her triple cast also gives a 200% attack and magic boost for 3 turns and restores 100% HP to the caster. It's a 6-turn cooldown, so it's not the most reliable thing, but it gives enough benefits that it's really good. 4-turn cooldown, available turn 4, hybrid damage of a 40 times modifier to all enemies. Like, First Light is interesting, but it's not listed as a chaining ability, so it's just a basically big chain finisher, and yeah, so that's okay. I think it's totally fine, but it's a little worrying. You're probably gonna want something else. Anyway, moving on. The rest of her kit, she has basically her kit could be described as she's everybody's best friend. She has an AT chaining ability that recovers MP to herself. She has an onion slice ability that inflicts blind and confuse, which isn't going to be super useful, but hey, it's a chaining partner for Onion Knight fans, so there you go. She has an AR chaining ability, so for Lunera, and if she is based on Holy Element, then that would be great. Here, looks like it doesn't have an element on it, but Actually, that's a really interesting question. Can she put elements on her weapons? Yes, she can. Flash Luster gives her light element to her attacks for 5 turns. That is fine. So she would be a really good chaining partner for Lunera 7-star, especially since Lunera 7-star got dual casting of her abilities, so that's really cool. And Flash Furious Radiance, which is a Divine Ruination or Landu chaining family. That is a pretty nice one that decreases light resistance of 100% for 3 turns to 1 enemy. So, looking at generally, without having actually tested her, Aurora Fryevia looks really, really powerful as a hybrid unit. Hybrid units are really good, but they do have kind of always a little bit of a problem where it's just not, I mean, sometimes they suffer a little bit for the trial that they're in. Other than that, I'm not the craziest about her super TMR in terms of balancing for a hybrid. It's not super nice. In terms of being able to push higher attack, I guess it's fine, but it's kind of going to unbalance her. So I'm not even super happy with her TMR. It is great that she chains with so many different people because it gives, she kind of fits in with a lot of different party. And there are plenty of units that can use the holy element either from equipment or from their other kits. So I think that this is fine. I think that she is particularly a really nice unit. In terms of damage, if I remember correctly what Meme Lord said from the calculations, and I'm totally giving Meme Lord all the credit on this, he says, the other only current unit capable of out-damaging Aurora Fryevia with super TMR is True Dual Hand Fixed Dice 2B, which puts Aurora Fryevia in a really good spot. Her frames are also accessible to everyone, unlike Kurosame. So, yeah, Aurora Fryevia seems really powerful. Of course, she is essentially a unit that is being pushed out early as a gift for FanFesta units. In other words, she's slightly ahead of the power creep. Again, I think that she is really good. She is particularly strong with a key element like light. However, the light element sometimes is not always the most usable, and then you're kind of going to be searching for either other equipment. But it is nice that a lot of her chaining abilities are not locked to the holy element, meaning that, if that trial is light resistant, you're not necessarily locked down to it. So Aurora Fryevia feels like a really solid kit, and there isn't really much else to say. I would say that she is a tippity top tier hybrid unit. She's kind of the hybrid unit that I've really been wanting for a long time. It's really cool that she is being given out to FanFesta attendees, and it's great that she will come out later, and she is not exclusive to FanFesta attendees. In general, I don't really think there's anything to complain in general about her kit. It seems pretty complete, pretty nice. Seems like they've covered pretty much all of the bases, at least most of the important stuff. She has a lot of different ways to unlock triple casting for her, and she has double casting when she doesn't have it. It seems perfectly fine. So yeah, Aurora Fryevia, pretty cool. Looking forward to her coming to the game for everybody. And for FanFesta units, I'm looking forward to testing her out when you put her up on the friend list, because I'm not traveling to California just for one unit. And a FanFesta. And some people. But anyway, that's all for this video, and I will see you guys all next time.